All right. Okay. So, welcome to the second episode of season 11 of Productized podcast. In the season, we are talking about the future of our cities. What if cities cared more about their digital products and services and treated their citizens like customers they want to retain? What if the mayor would be the equivalent to the CEO? Then who would be or who would be doing the role of an eventual chief product officer? More importantly, what transformations and improvements could this bring about for lives as citizens as a whole? And this is the same podcast you have been listening to since 2017, where innovators, geeks, creators, entrepreneurs come to discuss impactful ideas. And this season is about cities. Our mission is to inspire people to impactful action. My name is André Marquet, and I'm your host. So, everyone, today we have a special guest, also a friend, Peter Fabor. Peter is a community and product builder who talks about co living, co working, real estate, hospitality, and marketplaces. Peter is also the founder of the Surf Office, one stop shop for company retreats outside the office. Besides that, Peter is running a personal blog and creates guides about hospitality and co living businesses, improvements, and he's doing that for a number of cities worldwide. Welcome, Peter. How are you, sir?
Hey, thank you for a very nice introduction. I wouldn't make it better. I'm good. I'm good. It's quite busy now for the business, and for me, it's now busy all the time because I have a small kid, so I forgot how is it to have a very calm life. But all good.
Welcome to the club. Yeah, I guess life changes. You also moved to Amsterdam recently.
Not so recently. It's
Not so
actually going
recently.
to be almost 3 years. But as if we remove COVID time, then it's recently because some people recommend to not count COVID as some period of our life. So if we count COVID, it's like 3 years ago. Almost 3 years
What are you
ago, and
saying? You just had your kid during COVID. You more than had. I mean, you guess you actually made the kid during COVID. You had the kid during COVID. So yeah, time definitely doesn't stop, but it does feel that it has been this crazy 2 years for everyone, right? Where time distorts a little bit and kind of lose track of everything. But anyways, you call yourself a product builder. So tell me a little bit how you started this with product building. How did you got hooked? Because I remember when we first talked in Lisbon, maybe 7 years ago, back 2015. You were telling me you were kind of starting giving the first steps in what seemed to be a digital product for the kind of experiences that you were developing and designing at the time. So do you want to go back to those days or maybe even before that and tell us how you started into product and looking into yourself as a product builder?
yeah, I I put it on LinkedIn last year because I didn't know how to define myself, and I don't like much these titles like the CEO of whatever company. If it's like a small startup, for me, always like CEO of Starbucks or CEO of Microsoft. That's the right title for the person leading the company. But if you're a startup with like 10 or 15 people, it just you're just building the product. And I always had some side projects or side products I've been working on, so for me it was like natural that I call myself product builder. Um, and like I always been in tech, so I always worked in some way in the like product design of software of or online services or mobile applications, um, or emails or websites. So this is like my background. And around 2013 I started to play with an idea of working remotely. At the time I worked in in Prague in the office for one large tech company, and I wanted to work remotely and move to Canary Islands. What I did, and stayed there for 2 years, and then I moved after 2 years. I moved to Lisbon, where we met, and at the time I started to build this co-working, co-living spaces for remote workers and digital nomads, and it was just I tried to combine this. I was
in Cais do Sodré.
It was in Lisbon. It was in Cais do Sodré, and the idea was basically help people like me at the time who can work remotely, work on their laptops, to move somewhere else for a few weeks or months, and to have like a not just like the infrastructure, the accommodation, and the workspace to be productive, but also kind of community around of similar people. And and it was always a combination of creating the digital experiences and offline experiences. And since then I've been hooked. I always like, as I said before, I always built like online products or software, designing the software, and I was hooked in designing offline services and how they can be combined with online. And
you were doing what people sometimes people call service design as well, right? Service experience design.
Yeah, I heard that expression later. I didn't know that it's called this way. I learned it just.
There is an expression for everything, right? People have to make a living. So, what's a typical day look like to you nowadays? Because most people might not know, but your product kind of evolved. The surf office concept became a multi-country, multi-latitude community. It also has a very strong digital footprint. So what is it today as we speak?
So the business it evolves from co-living spaces and co-working spaces for digital nomads into offering company offsites and team retreats for different tech companies and startups. And it started the way that we had this, for instance, this co-living co-working space in Lisbon, in Cais do Sodré, that was targeting individual people, like anyone who can work remotely can come work from there, enjoy the good Portuguese life and surf and whatever they want to do. And we surprisingly had many companies reaching to us that, hey, we like this concept. Is it only for individuals, or could we come with a team of 5, 10, 15 people, usually small teams? And I thought like, oh, this is interesting. And first we had some startups I never heard about, or some digital agencies, but then like bigger names started to come, like Shopify or Stripe or WordPress, TopTal. And I thought like, oh, if these companies come to me without actually me doing any sales or like reaching out to them or doing some marketing towards them about the product that even I don't offer, because we were not offering the company retreats.
So you found product market fit even before you had a product, which is beautiful, right?
Exactly.
Like your clients told you, oh, you have the perfect product, just let us use it. Right.
So you see these startup stories where people come with some idea and they search for product market fit. We had this co-living that was in some way product market fit. At that time, it was just too early on the market. I didn't realize that the market can be so big, and it was not working so well. It was not like such exciting business. Like we had few locations, we had customers, it was profitable, but I didn't see this like growing very fast. And then this company started to come, and I thought like, oh, this is way more interesting that we can just move to different locations and find our different partners, like for co-workings and hotels, that we don't need to have our own spaces, because that was the initial model what we had with the co-living, that we leased and operated our own spaces, what brings a lot of of friction, a lot of work with whatever cleaning.
So right now you have like this list of partners, right? In different countries, in different locations. Barcelona, Gran Canaria, Madrid. In Lisbon, you have, of course, you have Lisbon, you have Ericeira, you have Madeira, but also outside of Europe, you have a number of locations in the US and so on. So, are these partners?
Yeah, these are all partner locations. We use this like lean startup approach a lot with testing new locations, that we just like add new locations on the website and see if there is the demand.
So it's like a fake tour concept, right? Just put a new location. If people start asking for a new location, you go after the
depends how you
partner.
are looking on it. So we have some locations that we believe that are going to work. So we just add them on the website. And now the locations what you see on the website, those are the locations where we operate. But we have maybe another 30 locations that are in testing, and you don't see them on the website, but maybe you can find them on Google. So that's more like fake it till you make it. But on the other hand, we have also we organize retreats in locations that we even don't have on our website. Like for instance, in Tenerife, we organize retreats and we don't have it on our website. Or in Portugal, we organize retreats in Algarve, but we don't have it on our website.
Because clients ask you for those locations, or
it's not always like. With co-living, it was more about location. So if you are a digital nomad, you decide that you want to go to Lisbon and work from Lisbon, and it's about the location. It's about Lisbon. But if you are a company and want to organize a retreat for 50 of your colleagues, the location is way less important than you might think. It's more about like how easy is to get there.
Right.
What are we going to do there? And how good is the venue? It's more about the venue. It's more about what are the flight connections to that location, and so on and so. So we have like a lot of customers that reach out that they want to go to Madeira and they end up in Mallorca or opposite. So it's interesting. It's just very different from individual customers, and a lot of things you simply don't realize before you launch it. I really believe that Madeira, for instance, is going to work very, very well as a location, and we still have it on our website, but it was very unsuccessful because from individual traveler, Madeira is amazing location. I've been there 3 or 4 times. I love the hiking. It's amazing island. I would like to come back again anytime soon.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I've been there a couple of times as well.
But for a group of employees, it's not easy to get there. Imagine that you have people are distributed in different locations in Europe. To fly to Madeira from Lisbon, it's very easy, also relatively cheap, or from Porto, the same. But if you are in Amsterdam or in Prague, and you have some other colleagues in Helsinki and others in Paris, you realize that the flights are not very good to Madeira. It's very difficult to get there, and the flights are also expensive. And if you think about this type of company retreat, that what's the goal of this event? It's to meet all together, have fun. It's not about experiencing Madeira. It's part of it, right, but it's not the main reason.
Right. So those retreats, they tend to have this experience to play. It's 5 or 10% of the overall time, but 90% is actually what you do with your team and the team building activities and whatnot, right?
Exactly. The meeting space and restaurant and team building activities, that's the most of the time where of these retreats when you are there like an employee. It's just different comparing to you going somewhere as a individual traveler.
Beautiful. All right. So yeah, I was thinking about this retreats that you guys organize. So if people are listening to this and they're wondering what's the minimum viable retreats in terms of time, is it 2 nights, 3 nights? What's do you have any specific minimum? time frame?
We don't have really minimum. We just try to explain to customers that we ask them if it makes sense if they say that they want to do it just for 2 days, like flying to Lisbon for instance, one night doesn't make much sense. So we always say that this 2 nights, 3 days, that's kind of minimum to have a good experience. Usually it's somewhere around 3, 4, 5 days. Depends on the size of the group. If it's large group, because we organize also groups of like 250 people, they usually make it shorter because it's also quite expensive to organize such a thing for a large group. And smaller teams, if it's a team of 20 people, very often they want to do some brainstorming of new product or something like that. So in that case, they want to they want to stay, for instance, longer, so they can have some brainstorming workshops, they can run some exercises, they can have a design sprint or hackathon, so it really depends on what are the goals of the group, of the company.
And you help the company to also organize those design sprints or those hackathons, or that's really something you usually don't?
We usually don't. Like, we don't try to be the company that tells them what to do. So our pitch is always like, we help you with everything what is related to infrastructure. So the accommodation, the transfers, the co-working space, and everything what is related to the content of the event. You have to do it by yourself, or they have to figure it out. We are more moving now towards this area because we have more and more customers asking us about it, that hey, can you recommend us some speaker who can come about, I don't know, like company culture or whatever, or they ask us like to organize some sort of design sprint or something like that. We have these requests, but we don't do it now. I think later we might start to do it, like, because also there is this thing that we I didn't mention it. Like, we try to really standardize the whole experience of organizing a company retreat. So we work with the same venues. We really master like whole experience, from the meeting space and the food and everything what is there. And we build like an online platform where customers can actually book everything. So you want to book team building activity, you book it on our online platform, and you minimize the time of, like, I call it consulting, right? And organizing design sprint, for instance, is consulting.
It is super time consuming. So this started like as a one-man show when I met you. It was basically you and yourself. And nowadays, how many people do you have in the team? Which, by the way, it's a 100% remote team, right?
Yeah, we are 100% remote.
You are 100 people already?
100% remote.
100%. Okay. That's big.
Like, it's always difficult to count because we have a lot of freelancers working with us, especially like with content and so. But I think like the team that it's on the Slack, now it's 12 people. So that size of the team.
So what's your typical day look like nowadays? Is it about recruiting? Is it more like managing clients? Are you the salesperson? And what's your, because products, I guess, you're still spending quite a lot of time. I know that you are very much into design as well. So how much are you investing in some of these aspects of the business?
Not as much as I would like to. I had that was my most productive period of life, to be honest. These last 2 years during COVID, people were complaining that about COVID, and I was quite happy that the office was not really working. Imagine, like, nobody was organizing company events during the pandemic. so I had like more free time on like working on things I like to do. Like I like to work. I built like a couple of new small products. I learned like new technologies, and I was just exploring different things, starting to write a blog, a newsletter, and so and so. It was very creative, and now Suroffice is back. Working quite well because like all these newly remote companies, they need to organize a retreat because they need to meet after these 2 years of staying in the bedrooms and
Mm-hmm.
base camps. And so I'm back more in serve office and I'm focusing like fully on this. No, not much time for side projects. So yeah, 90% of my time currently is hiring and helping my colleagues to be more productive or unblock their bottlenecks. So I would say that's my job. But of course, I'm trying to be involved in the product or how we communicate the product, and I do sales from time to time, but we have a dedicated sales team that is
Mm-hmm.
responsible
So
for that.
besides work, I know that at least here in Portugal, you were surfing quite a lot. You were quite a surfing enthusiast. Um, are you still having some time to surf? I don't even know what's the surf scene in the Netherlands, so I have no
It's
idea.
it's small,
Mm.
but there are many surfers here. The conditions are very far from what I had in Portugal.
Mhm.
The waves are or flat or it's flat or the waves are messy. So I don't surf here a lot, but I used to surf relatively regularly before I had a kid. Uh, because the beach is not very far. It's just 25 minutes from Amsterdam. So it's kind of similar to Lisbon, that you
Mhm.
also don't have the beach to surf in Lisbon. You need to go to Carcavelos or Caparica or Ericeira, and it's
Yeah.
usually around 30 minutes. Um, so my surfing is mainly when I travel, and I've been in Canary Islands in January for 2 weeks, working remotely and surfing every day. So
With the baby.
that was amazing. Yeah, first time with the baby. First time we tried this like remote work, surf with the baby, and it was great. We have to now
So
repeat more.
your wife's also passionate about it. Remote
Yeah.
living, surfing. All right. You told me that you had 3 years to learn and to do new stuff. But what if you had like 3 months to learn a relatively new technology? What would you choose to learn?
Mm-hmm. Uh, that's a good question. I've been thinking about it during COVID because I asked this question myself, and I tried with learning Python coding. I always thought like, oh, when I'm going to have more time, I'm going to learn coding. So I started with Python, and it was a complete fail. Not fail, like I spent maybe 20 hours of some online course and I was moving forward, but I consider it so slow, and I just thought like, I'm 35, I'm never going to be good in this. I
Right.
can learn some basics. So what I can learn where I in 3 months I learn, but I can also work on some side project and build something. So I learned, I invested like 3 months, 2, 3 months into geospatial analysis. I did course on Coursera, and then like did my project that it's actually for Lisbon. I made a tool to how to choose the right neighborhood where to live in Lisbon. It's called
Right.
Hoodpicker.com.
Hoodpicking.
And that was like I was learning on Coursera, and around the same time I was building this tool. And before that, it was actually before I was learning Webflow, so to build more complex website without code. And I just love the platform. This Hoodpicker is built on Webflow, so basically I combine these two new skills. And
Why did you go to Webflow and not to I don't know, Bubble or
and that was
other
actually that was
no
actually
courses?
my answer to your question, that I would choose Bubble now. To learn something, I would
Mm.
invest 3 months into learning Bubble, because the Webflow is great to build websites that are almost like the applications. I see that this is not perfectly optimized for this screen. What you have now, and
Okay,
because I don't
better like this,
now you
right?
see on the left you see the filters, so you
So
can.
what is Hoodpicker? Let's just do a little quick navigation. So filter your lifestyle preferences. So what you do is you filter your
So you have all
lifestyle
these filters you
preferences,
can
right?
imagine, like what are your
Popular among
preferences on the
nomads.
neighborhood, and on the right side you see neighborhoods of Lisbon. There are 24 in total, and more filters you use, you obviously have less neighborhoods that match that criteria. And then you can click on that neighborhood and you see the details. People can leave the review. So it helps people who don't know anything about Lisbon and they want to move to Lisbon to actually find the right neighborhood. I found this as a problem many people have, and they were coming to me in the messages asking me where I should go. And this is the type of question like where I should travel during the summer. Well, depends on your preferences. Do you like the sea? Do you like the mountains? So it's the same for the neighborhoods. Like, do you like neighborhoods where are many expats, or you want to be more like in local area? Do you want to have there like some like market, or how far it should be from the beach, and
Right.
so this was the idea for Hoodpicker, and it's quite popular now. It has around like 200-300 people visiting per day. So
Mhm.
I'm happy with the project because I don't invest any more time into it, so I don't update it.
And is Border a partner of yours?
It's not my project. It's
Right.
it's a startup from Portugal. They're helping people with
Getting around, getting
with
the fiscal number and tax number.
PSN, and so that's
Okay.
interesting.
So do you have any monetization for this website? Is this something you're making any money with right now, Hoodpicker?
Not really. There is this advertising. I'm not sure if it's making any money. It's just pocket money. I had some ideas for it, but it was I just I tested a couple of ideas and it was not working as I expected, and I just switched to different projects. So the idea for monetization was um, to provide like more detailed data, for instance, to real estate investors or
Mm-hmm.
people who are analyzing the market, or using the data. For instance, I didn't find this type of services in Portugal or in Europe in general. What I found in the US, that they provide like analyzes where to open the pharmacy, for instance, in what location. Like you have some radius of people around the pharmacy in walking distance. You know how many people live there, and like what are the other pharmacies in the area. So like you make some geospatial analysis around it, and you decide like, okay, this is the right spot to choose the pharmacy.
Right.
And big brands are doing it. When
Yeah, I've
H&M
heard
wants to open the
McDonald's
shop,
is doing that for many years now. They have been
yeah.
doing smart geolocation for over 3 decades with geo referencing systems. But yeah, it totally makes lots of sense. And so all right, so that's impressive because you are a designer by heart, and you said, I don't need to learn code because with a tool like Webflow, I can actually build a responsive, beautifully crafted website like you did for Hoodpicker, which is great. So one of the things that we read on your blog post is that you've written that your first co-living space was open in Gran Canaria. How is it going? Is it still operating in any fashion, or you left the operation and now it's a partnership?
No, we don't operate any co-living spaces
All right.
anymore.
Okay.
So it was the project that I started in 2013 with the co-working co-living space in Gran Canaria. That was the first location.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had one in Lisbon and one in California.
Now, how did you come to Lisbon? Because back then, when you did that choice, it was not as popular as it is, arguably, for the last few years. So, what was the trigger point for you to say, okay, next one is Lisbon?
I knew Lisbon. I studied in Lisbon 15 years ago. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, I saw Lisbon, like it was just Erasmus. So I spent there like half year, and then I came back during the summer surfing with friends, and I spent there
Which university were you studying?
in Lisbon.
Like arts or?
No, I studied business. I studied in ESG, Lisbon.
Okay. Yes, she. Okay, great. Isaac. Beautiful. So, as you know, Lisbon has been an attractive destination for digital expats, and it has good weather all year round. Although today we have this storm from the Sahara, so the sky is totally red. It's quite a show. Same is happening in Spain as we speak. But generally speaking, good internet connectivity, many free time activities and leisure time opportunities, nature close by, the beach, blah, blah, blah. It's still quite affordable. Now they even offered like this digital nomad visa, which you might know more about than I do. Do you, what's your take on what's happening lately? Has everyone is going remote, and how do you see the trend flowing for the next few years?
I believe that it's going to continue. It's the city and the country in general is simply attractive for people from mainly from north of Europe and US to spend a couple of months or even move there for long term for a couple of years, because all the reasons you mentioned. And you don't have so many places that tick all these boxes, like you have in Europe. If you want like good weather, good lifestyle, you have Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Greece, let's say. Italy is not so affordable. Greece is, let's say, not so popular. It's like more difficult to travel there. You can stay in Athens, but it's maybe not so nice cities to stay long term than Lisbon or Barcelona. So actually Portuguese and Spanish cities are winning. And then like imagine like how we were talking about this Hoodpicker where you are choosing the neighborhood. So the same like for locations. So what are the other boxes you want to tick that maybe I don't speak Spanish or Portuguese? Where could I speak with locals in English? Like what? So then you have to remove Spain at all, because yeah, it's less easy to talk with people unless you speak Spanish. And you end up in Portugal where people have fluent English. And then okay, where to go in Portugal? Like there is Porto, there is Lisbon. I never been in Portugal, so I guess I would rather go first to the city. And yeah, you choose one of these two. Lisbon is capital, more options, more people. I would choose to Lisbon. So, and this will not change in 5 or 10 years. I believe that Lisbon is going to be very popular destination for remote workers and digital nomads, and it's actually going to explode later this year and the next year, in my opinion, because all these people who worked remotely during COVID because they were forced to, now some companies are asking them to come back to the office for a few days a week, but most companies, they are still keeping this remote work environment or playing with the hybrid. But large portion of these people will realize, oh, actually, if I can work from anywhere, why not to go to somewhere for a month? And yeah, I believe that there will be like 3-4 times more nomads in 2 years in Lisbon.
Yeah, lots of questions in my mind, but one of them is, how much are you a believer in hybrid model? Because lots of people in the nomad community, they have, or digital community, they have very hard opinions on this. Some people say, hybrid sucks totally. So either go 100% remote, or better stay as you are. Some people have this more, mild position towards it and say, hybrid's fine. It's better having 1 or 2 days out of the office than having this 100% office culture. Others say, back to the office, the real thing. And then you still have another trend going on, which is the 4 workday week, right? Lots of companies doing 4 workday week or playing around with 32 hours instead of 40 or whatever it is. Any opinions about what kind of model? Obviously, for you guys, you are 100% remote. So I guess I know your answer towards your company, but do you have any feelings towards what should be done? And let me just tell you that I've been to some corporates because I'm consulting with some, and to some extent, it feels, and I don't want to judge anyone. I'm just saying what it feels to me, that for lots of these corporates, it's like COVID in many ways didn't happen. Just, oh, okay, the mask mandate is off. Remote work is off. Okay, back to the office. So, and it's back to the office like it's 2019 again. And sometimes they might be a little bit flexible. Okay, you might have 1 day, but it's pretty much still back in the office. Like you've never been 2 years working from home with your VPN and so on and so forth, which for me, it's mind blowing because it feels, you just proved that you can be so productive in this company with these very same people working from home as much or more than you were here in the office. So why are you forcing people to come back to the office, right? And in lots of companies they don't even have a good answer for that, other than someone told us so, right? Management, upper management, God, whatever. So what's your take on this?
I think this is a topic for the whole entire podcast episode, because
absolutely,
there is so much to discuss. I don't have this because I see on LinkedIn usually people post like why remote is the future, or why everyone should come back to the office, and then there is something called hybrid, and I don't think any of this is true. Like, it's not like you can choose whatever works for you, and I think depends also on type of the company. So when you have I can tell from my experience, because I've been working remotely for 5 or 6 years, like completely remote, and I can say that there are certain things that are activities that are very difficult to do remotely, and one of them is brainstorming. So if you are a startup and you try to find a product market fit, it's very difficult to do it remotely. Like it's simply better to be in one room together for a couple of days and brainstorm. On the other hand, if you know already what to do, and you are also like more senior, that to plan your day and you are productive, remote it's a blessing. It's way better for you. So really depends on the company, or even the team. When people are talking about hybrid, for me it's funny, because I believe in general in hybrid that it's a good model, but not the way how companies are proposing it. Because they propose hybrid means that, okay, you should come to office on Tuesday and Thursday. That's hybrid. And Monday, Wednesday, on Friday you can work from home. But to me, that's not hybrid. That's companies telling you what you should do. For me, hybrid is that we have an office here in this city where you live, and you can come to that office anytime you want. You can come to that office. You can work the evenings or during the night from the office, because I don't know what, you don't have productive place at home and you want to be more flexible. Or you don't have to come at all, and you can tell the employees like, let's meet like at least once a month in the office, that we have a lunch together so we see each other. But some people would come every day to the office because it's just good for them. They want to to meet others. They are extroverts. Like for instance, people working in sales is more difficult if they are extrovert. What they usually are. It's difficult for them to work from home. And other people who are developers, they can work from home forever, and they can meet like once a month in the office. So companies, in my opinion, should leave people the freedom to choose what is best for them, and not define like you should be in the office on Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah, I know. I totally see your point. I would just argue that in bigger companies where you have lots of people, peer pressure becomes a thing as well, right? It's not just what management tells you, because management can say, guys, feel free to do whatever you want. But then you have this big cohort of people actually going to the office, and whatever the majority is doing tends to become the norm of the company in many ways, because there's lots of peer pressure to show up just because your colleague is showing up. And if you don't show up, your colleague is not going to sing good things of you or whatever it is. So, yeah, I think that it's a complex topic for sure. And it does deserve, and it's going to continue, right, to see the ongoing discussion on media and so on. So you told us great things about Lisbon, but you're now located in Amsterdam. So you're not drinking your own Kool-Aid. So can you briefly compare Amsterdam to Lisbon? I guess you have good reasons to be there, but what are the main differences and similarities between these two cities?
Well, one is flat,
That's for
another
sure.
one is for on
Very
hill.
flat, very bike friendly. Another one, not so really.
And I love biking. I love.
Me too.
I'm really into like mobility and transportation in the cities, and how to make cities sustainable. For me, Amsterdam, from this point of view, it's like a dream city. Like you don't need to own the car here, and you have perfect lifestyle.
That's also because of city choices, right? Because if Amsterdam decades ago decided to go that way, and not just because of happenstance, people started using bikes just because, right? And I think that's one of the points we want to do here with the podcast, is that public policy matters.
100%. Like very many people think that Amsterdam, everyone is biking because people like biking, but it's not really true. They made the government, the local municipalities, they made such policies that it's very uncomfortable or inconvenient to own a car. Like you want to park just in front of your house, you can get a permit and pay for it. It's not going to be cheap, but you can have paid something monthly. If you don't have that permit and you park wherever, like in the residential neighborhood, you have to pay like 6-7 euros per hour, just for street parking. And you go to city center,
on street.
That rate is I think 12 euros right now. Plus, it's difficult to find any parking because there is not so much space. So, and the tax you have to pay for the
car, owning the car,
and the insurance is also very high. And the city makes it more difficult for you to justify having a car. But on the other hand, you have I think it's partially government-owned car sharing service. So I'm using it. I'm using car like usually once a week. During the weekend, we go somewhere for a trip. So in Amsterdam, I don't need to have a car, but I want to go somewhere to the beach, for instance. Right. I need to have a car, and it just one app. It's one click. Once you are registered, I just open it, and it's right next to my house. I go out, I open the car, and I just drive.
Yeah. So it's a car sharing app.
It's a car sharing app, and I don't need to. Yeah, I pay per.
What's the name? What's the name of the app?
Green Wheels.
Green Wheels. Okay. We're going to post this URLs on the podcast description and here on the YouTube chat as well, if people want to follow and see best practices, and they can refer to. So yeah, that is quite different experience from Lisbon, where car ownership inside or outside a city is still very much a one status quo, and two, I would argue a need, but also those policies which you just spoke, hiring the price to park the car and so on, and definitely not popular among citizens. So it requires some level of education of the citizens to understand and to cope with those policies, because if the mayor of Lisbon starts increasing the prices of parking, um, that is a no, right? He would not get reelected, or at least he believes so, and that is still the problem. While he believes so, he's probably not going to do that, because he believes that if he increases prices, actually he's doing the opposite. He's actually lowering the price of parking the car inside the city for citizens, which is kind of crazy and countersensical, but that's what's happening right now. So any other things that you would, as an ex-Lisboner and now a new Amsterdamer, I don't even know if that's the words, but if it is, it is. If it's not, please correct me.
It's the name of the cheese, Amsterdamer.
Amsterdamer. Okay. How do you know how to call Amsterdam people?
Yeah, you can call people from Amsterdam.
People from Amsterdam. So, any tactical recommendations, things that you're seeing? Oh, this is obviously something useful. So why don't we do that as well?
I think proposing Lisbon to be a bike city, it might sound naive, because just it's not as flat as in Amsterdam. So you always have to adjust like what can really work in Lisbon. Like one of the things I observed in Amsterdam, like they are very strict and they have a lot of rules around renting the apartments. And I noticed this in Lisbon. So even I don't live in Lisbon, I'm still very much connected. Before COVID, I used to visit like every 2-3 months. I have there my colleagues. We are organizing their retreat. So I'm still connected with Lisbon a lot, and I see that this increase of popularity among digital nomads and expats is dramatically increasing the prices of real estate in Lisbon, not only to rent, but also to buy. And yeah, you like with the regular Portuguese salary, you cannot even afford to rent apartment in Lisbon, and in the central areas. So the locals are forced to some suburbs and so and so. And it's like, it looks like even that it's all designed for these expats. And are they really bringing so much value? I mean, like digital nomads and expats, like, of course they bring some value to the city, but how this value is transferred to the for the citizens, for locals. And what I learned in Amsterdam, that for instance, if you are buying a flat for yourself where you are going to live, you pay some sales tax, what is 2%. But if you buy a flat, the second one, or simply the flat where you are not going to live, the sales tax is 8%. There is also like very different rate for the mortgage. If you are buying a flat where you are going to live and the flat you are going to rent on Airbnb or wherever, then Airbnb has very strict restrictions. It's actually not usable. You cannot, like, if you have apartment, you cannot rent it on Airbnb. You can rent it, I think now it's 30 days a year. So you cannot build a business around it. And you can do a lot of this type of restrictions as a government that will help locals to actually, like, because people think that you need to, how to keep the lower prices of rent. Like government should say, like, this should be the price. Like, this doesn't work this way. There is open market, but as a government, you can influence that open market and give some advantages to locals and these expats who I would say, like, most of them are like, they have more money than locals. Like, why not to tax them more, even indirectly? So, and this way, like you are trying to keep the balance. And I see that Amsterdam is very, very good in this and very, very sensitive to keep locals competitive with, because there is a lot of money coming in to Amsterdam from abroad. Like it's very attractive destination to buy property and rent long term or whatever Airbnb if it would be possible. It's a good location for investment. What creates a lot of speculation, and a lot of speculation creates increasing of the rents and the prices. And the same thing is happening in Lisbon. So I think it's just about copying some things that are working and use them in Lisbon.
Yeah, I'm actually opening the website of the city of Amsterdam. I think this is actually from the actual city, and they have a great thing, which is the website opens up in English. If I do the same with the city, well, actually, this is something else. Cidade Lisboa website. It's probably going to open the website. Well, actually, it doesn't even show up. Okay, it's all right. It's opening up in Portuguese, which kind of makes sense because I'm in Portugal, but it doesn't really have an English version, right? Which is kind of crazy if you think about all the people like you that don't necessarily speak Portuguese. So having this not has a multilingual website doesn't make any sense. And you go to this city of Amsterdam, and you have all this very useful gateways. Register as a resident, moving into Amsterdam, reporting your move abroad. So this is very tactical, useful stuff that you as a citizen you need to do when you move to the city. So how's your interaction with a city municipality? Do you have any app? Are you going to their websites? Did you need to register? Was it easy?
It's amazing. I love the system here in Amsterdam. Basically, about everything, like whatever whatever interaction with the government or municipality, you can Google it in English, and you will find the page, and you find the like online solution for it, or online, like you can do everything online. You don't have to call anyone, like even like registering like when you want to register as a new resident, it's like online. Then you can go, then like you can go like to the municipality to sign something, but it's extremely easy, and they have you tracked. They send you mails with whatever you have to do or to pay. It's very difficult to miss like anything. You don't have to follow like what you have to do, because you are already in the system, and they are telling you what you should do, or you have to register here, or you have to pay this,
reminding you stuff. So why did you move to Amsterdam? Seems like such a working city. There's nothing else to do. I'm kidding. Is there any reason you moved there?
It's a great city to live, to be honest. It's very livable. It's very international. So you can meet people from all over the world. There is a beach, not in the city, but not very far. And it has amazing train connection. I live close to the train station, and I'm at the airport in 10 minutes. And I think it's the third largest airport in Europe. I can fly anywhere in the world.
But did you choose Amsterdam like in what? It was one of your searches, or was there like a lot of reason?
So I met my current wife at the time, girlfriend, and we both lived for last 10 years in different cities. I lived in Canary Islands, in Lisbon, in San Francisco, in Prague, in Barcelona, like always kind of like staying somewhere for 2 years and move somewhere else. And I met her, and she had very similar story, different cities, but very similar story. And we were just discussing that we would like to move somewhere where we can settle down. And we approached it in a very analytical way, like trying to just write down what are our it was not like, oh, our dream is to move to Amsterdam or wherever. It was about, we were both like writing what are our musts and nice to have things, and made the list. And for instance, for me was must that there is some surfing or ocean. And a nice to have was, for instance, mountains, what we don't have in Amsterdam. And for my wife, it was before COVID. She has the job that it's quite office related. It's not so remote. Even now it's remote, so it gives us more freedom. And we made a list of the cities where I had Lisbon, Porto, Barcelona, Mexico City, like more like cool lifestyle locations with and Mexico City there is no surf, but I was thinking like I would like to stay there for a bit. And she had like, there was Stockholm and Frankfurt and Cologne, and I got scared, like I don't want to I can visit these places for 1 week or so, but not to really live there. Munich. So we just made this both of us a list, and there was one overlap. We considered none of us Amsterdam was like on top of the list, but for both of us it was on the list. So we agreed, let's move to Amsterdam. And
that's the next version of your product. You're going from Hoodpicker to City Picker, right? And allow couples to choose their perfect city according to their own preferences. It's a product idea. But it will just make your life easier, maybe.
There is this tool called Nomad List where you can
Nomad List, right?
You can use some filters, and actually relevant filters what we were deciding. Like absolutely. For instance, we wanted city where we can speak English. Like we want to learn like local language, but we can speak, like we can have a
you can have your professional life in English and your work life in English. And I guess what you did, it's also a little bit different than average nomad, right? Because you came to a moment of your life with your wife where you said, okay, maybe we want to have kids, maybe we want to settle down, and let's choose a city to do that. Like, 2 living birds, let's choose a place to build the nest. And it's very different to build the nest than just, going around, staying for, having no schools to put the kids in and kindergartens. It's a whole new perspective. And I'm actually, in a way, Amsterdam is for you guys was the perfect choice. And I guess one of the objectives that we have also with this podcast is to think if Lisbon could also remain and become an even more attractive for people like you. Because like you said, maybe nomads are not maybe nomads is great, right? Having a digital nomads community is great, but cities thrive with long-term investment. People that actually stay in the city, that pay taxes in the country, that employ people eventually, that put their kids in the school and so on and so forth, right? So in many ways, what kind of improvements city and governments could make here for for Lisbon in this case to make it more attractive for people like you and your wife, Peter? I guess we're not going to put mountains, right? Because that's something they cannot do, but the rest that was still and still is pretty much in your radar.
For me, transportation is a big thing in Lisbon, that you have so many like nice neighborhoods in not only in Lisbon but in surrounding area, small towns where you can have great lifestyle and be super close to the city, but it's a nightmare to commute from there. Like you are 15 minutes from Lisbon, but if you don't have a car, it takes 1.5 hours to get there. Like for instance, after living in Lisbon, I tried this experiment of moving to Ericeira, and I moved also to Costa de Caparica. So I spent like a couple of months in Ericeira.
I remember that you are almost a city explorer, a lab explorer, because when he told me I'm going to live in Caparica, for a Lisboner, living in Caparica, it's like, what are you doing? You are in the city center. You could stay in the city center. You want to go and live in Caparica because of transportation.
Yeah, and now
And
they're
how
both.
was that experience?
And now they're both hotspots, like both Caparica and Ericeira. They are hotspots for digital nomads.
Super hot, yes, for the surf scene, for digital nomads. But
And this was just when I was doing this experiment in 2017, so it was not so long.
not so much.
I think 17, not such a long time ago, And
But you felt insulated, right? You felt like you were disconnected from the city.
Yeah, there were no digital nomads and expats at all. Like only Portuguese people. Nothing like against them. I liked it, but it was
right. But there was no nomad scene, and the transportation was not good. You didn't have
especially from Caparica. You look on the map; it's so close to Lisbon.
It's so close, yeah.
And yeah, it was like almost 2 hours trip to get with public transportation from Caparica, and the same for Ericeira. It was like 2 hours trip to get to the city center, like you first need to take a bus. And so there are like so many, like you are well connected. The transportation is amazing through Cascais. That's why this area along the coast, Portuguese Golden Coast, it's also like popular among expats, because you are just close to train, and if you want to go to get to Lisbon, you can make it in 40 minutes from Cascais, or like even 15 or like 20 minutes, depends, Carcavelos, depends where you stay. But there is huge potential, like for instance, other side of the Lisbon, Casillas or Almeida, like these areas, like all like there is a lot of like housing, right? And it's
right. Much more affordable.
Like affordable. You have nice views with the river. Like it's I can imagine this place is very nice locations to live, but the transportation again is the problem. And also like when these investments and rising of the prices are pushing people away from the central areas of Lisbon. Like you need to build, like the government, the municipality should build some way how these people can like be still connected with the city. They move to suburbs, and how to come to the city. Like you don't want to travel by bus for 2 hours. Like it's just insane. Like for instance, in Lisbon you have Alcantara. It's too, like for Portuguese or locals, it sounds like going from Alcantara to the city center, there's like very far. But when you look on the map, it's very close. If there would be a good bike lane, for instance, it's just on bike it's what, 10 minutes.
Actually, I tried to bike it today from Alcantara to our offices, and I just gave up. I took the Uber. Yeah, and I'm a heavy biker, so totally with you here. Transportation, mobility is of the essence. And in one of your latest blog posts, you also shared areas that you have, or that you consider have the potential to become hot trends for businesses in digital nomads or related fields. So these trends include towns for remote workers, home swapping, city getaways and glamping, co-living in lifestyle locations, staycations, camper vans, etc. Do you plan on developing any of these products yourself?
I would love to. Unfortunately, I don't have time for that.
So just giving ideas for
just
people.
Giving ideas, and I'm trying to connect with people who are trying to build something, and maybe thinking how I can be involved, because like, I'm in that position that I believe that I have a lot of knowledge about the market and how to build this products. I have access to capital. I just don't have time. So when I switch back to 7 or 8 years ago when I started, I had time and I didn't have knowledge and access to capital, and now it's completely switched. That I'm missing time.
So if people have ideas, or if they read your blog post and they say, "Yeah, I'd love to do this," Is there any process people can approach you and say, hey, Peter, I just read that about, I don't know, camper vans for remotes and I want to start a business. Do you have any process to engage with these people and maybe invest on them or something like that?
Yeah, I have. I started to have more of these requests, and I'm always trying to think how to approach it to not sound arrogant, because most of the people just write me like, hey, I have this idea and I'm trying to build something around remote work and camper vans. Would you have some time for a call? And yeah, my answer is no. Like, I don't know what you are building. I don't know who you are. I don't want to have a call with you. But but if you explain me what you are doing and it sounds interesting, maybe we can have a call, So I ask questions. To be honest, most of the people just have an idea. They are not very far. They are very far from building something, and they don't even, like, their first step is asking for a call, someone like me, like they don't make like first small steps to have a MVP or like some proof of concept that this can work, or like some exploration before you start to reach out people. But then there are people who are in later stage, and I'm like talking with one like glamping project in UK that I want to invest. I really like their approach, and they want to scale it, and now they're raising money. So I see it also like opportunity to be involved in like early stage startups that are doing something interesting, have a lot of potential, and I can angel invest. So that's my like long-term vision with this project. And but the most important is like to connect with interesting people. So it's a good filter to find very interesting people, and then share ideas with them.
Finally, what words of advice would you give your younger self? You're talking about your younger, 7 years younger, I don't know, 8 years younger self. So what kind of words of advice would you give that younger self?
I maybe it would be connected now as I was talking about it now. Maybe that's why it came to my mind with cold emailing or approaching people. Like 7 or 8 years ago, it was not that I was entirely afraid to contact people I don't know online, but I was not doing it so often. And I learned that it's very easy to contact basically anyone. If we are not talking about Elon Musk, like these super high profile people, you can contact basically anyone and have a call with them. Or as I learned a lot from these messages I'm receiving, I found some patterns like what I like. So when I'm cold emailing or cold messaging to someone, I don't try to ask them for a call in the first message. And you can use like very simple tactics, and like everyone wants to help. Like if you ask people about like simple questions or advice, you can approach anyone, and it's a superpower. Like if if you have that mindset that you can approach anyone, and not with like, don't have like this like first plan of like selling something or like get something, just like if your motivation is just like to create like interesting connection that maybe in the future would be beneficial for you, it's like it's a superpower. And and I still I'm reminding myself that I should do it more often. But when I was younger, I definitely was afraid, like, oh, this guy, for instance, writing interesting blog or newsletter, and I was just like silent reader, and now like I'm subscribed to cool newsletter and I like it. I don't know the person, and I just reply to some of the newsletters like I like this newsletter because, and I try to be thoughtful what they are writing there, and just saying like,
and they
thank you
usually
for creating this
they usually
content.
write back and they say thank you. They answer.
Yeah, they write back thank you, and they like, maybe we don't write anything else, and but you can write again, and if you write like many people, you easily create like a lot of connection. But it helps a lot when you are creating something publicly. So when people can go to your LinkedIn or to your Twitter, and they can see what you are working on. If you are doing everything like secretly and people don't know about what you are doing, it's more difficult to approach people by cold email because you don't have that credibility.
Absolutely. Build in public. Don't be afraid to cold call or approach people and tell them what you like, what you can improve. Absolutely amazing. I just have like here a book that you recommended our listeners to read. You actually recommended more than one, but I'm taking this one, which is Walkable City: How Downtown Can Save America One Step at a Time by Jeff Speck. I mean, I think I understand now where has the conversation flow, but what's about this book that made you recommend it to us?
Yeah, it's amazing book, and you might think that it's about walking and how to create walkable cities, but it's the book is actually way deeper, and I think that's the most interesting part about it. Like the it talks like in different chapters about urbanism in the cities and how this urbanism influences the lifestyle, and it comes like to the ultimate thing, like to make walkable cities, because when you have walkable cities, you just like, these are the cities what people say like that's a good quality of life. They don't say like this is the most walkable city. They say like, oh, this is a great city to live, like for instance Barcelona or Amsterdam. And when you try to find the pattern between these like preferred cities or most popular cities for people, you realize that it's about the walkability. And yeah, he's for instance saying that when you have there is a research, when you have like, that was for me mind-blowing, that when you have a architecture in the cities where you have like large blocks of buildings, for instance in New York, like skyscrapers, like people don't want to walk there because it's just boring. And I thought like, what boring? Like, yeah, when you go somewhere for a walk and you walk for 30 minutes, you want to have like entertaining walk, what means like you want to have there some trees, nature, or interesting building, houses. So you are walking and it's like pleasure to walk. But then when you walk and there is next to you is just like a concrete of the building, because the blocks are just like concrete, it's boring. So nobody wants to walk, and people use Uber or public transportation. And so it's like, okay, so what type of architecture the city needs to attract to make it more walkable, or like how wide is the road. Like it depends on it influences the safety. So for instance, wider is the road, the cars go faster. So they made the experiment, and you think that no, the wide road is actually safer because cars have more space, so nothing can happen.
And maneuver, right?
And it happens actually the opposite, that the car knows that there are no people, there is a lot of space. I can
they're
go
going
fast,
to speed up. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. I think we're very much on the same page here. And we love, I guess we love the cities where we live. It's where we spend like 100% of our time, with the exception of the time we end up going out, which is sometimes, at least not for me, not happening so much for the last few years. So yeah, it makes total sense, and there's so much.
Sorry to interrupt. It just came to my mind that I always was thinking about it in Lisbon. I would just imagine in Lisbon, like from Cais de Sodré to Santa Apolonia, and then direction to Rocio Restauradores, like all that area of Baixa, I would just make it no cars, only walkable. And people would be angry and like, oh, why we cannot go there with the car? But then imagine like how amazing it would be that you don't have their cars and you can make all these streets only for pedestrians and cafeterias and so and so. Because if you drive there by car, it's a nightmare. If you want to cross the city, this area of the city, if you are unlucky, it can take you like like 40 minutes, and it just sets
Totally
off
agree with you.
maximum
It's right now the solution is bad for pedestrians, and it's bad for cars. So it's bad for bikes. I was biking there with my kid the other day, and my kid is 6 and or 5 at the time, and they actually wanted to kill us just because we were taking a little bit of their roads in a place where there's no bike lane. And I was with a 6-year-old kid, and it's definitely not a very good experience to have when car rage is at this level of hate, which is not healthy in any city. So making it no cars is definitely something that they should definitely consider. Peter, thank you so much. It was great having you with us. Thanks for joining the Productized podcast. If you enjoyed your stay with us, give us your review on Spotify or Apple Tunes or wherever you're listening to this, and share this episode with friends and colleagues. You also have show notes and more episodes at productized.media.com. This podcast was hosted by me, André Marquet, with research done by Evelina Bogdan and sound edition by Miguel Souza. Thank you. Have a great day.